Today on The Young and the Restless, Audra and Nate reassure Emmy, Nick supports Sharon, and Phyllis interrupts Billy's lunch with Sally. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, Soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. At Nate's apartment, Audra tries to convince Amy that Damien will come around and agree to see her. She'll just have to give it time. Amy's worried that telling him about her involvement may have scared him off. She recaps that he spiraled after losing his father. This was extreme. She can understand a temporary setback, but this was like he'd never recover. Nate wonders if time has dulled the pain. Amy's just afraid her fears will come true. She can't take losing him again. Audra reassures her by insisting Damien had to be affected on some level, knowing she was looking for him. Nate is sure Damien just needs time to cool down. Emmy cries, "Okay." Audra tells her that the feelings they shared will still be there. Nate would love to hear more about what his brother was like growing up. Emmy shares a story about Damien falling in love with a stray cat and convincing her to let him keep it. She laughs over their panic trying to keep the cat a secret from her husband, until the cat made a surprise appearance during a movie night. Tearing up, Emmy can't bear to think this is the end with her son. They were so close, and she loves him so much. Audra's sure he loves her too. She pulls Emmy into a hug. Nate says he'll do everything he can to make sure it happens. Emmy embraces him. In the park, Holden tells Damien they can't keep this charade up much longer. If he goes to meet Nate and Amy shows up, his cover will be completely blown. Damien smiles slyly, not necessarily. Holden asks what he means. If his mother takes one look at him, it's over. Damien tells him he'll have to make sure that doesn't happen. Nate is after something, and he wants to know what it is. Holden will do his best. Damien has complete faith in him. "I bet you can even get Nate to tell you everything, like what's really going on." Holden asks if he thinks he's trying to scam him. Damien's sure there has to be more to it than just trying to reunite him with his mom. He needs to know how he's connected to his mother and what he wants. Holden tells Damien they're still waiting on the background check on Nate. Damien questions his mother having connections in Genoa City. Holden suggests she could be a friend of Nate's mother. Damien supposes that's possible. Just then, Holden gets the new information on Nate Hastings via his phone. He reads that Nate was a surgeon before an accident sent him into the corporate world. His mother is a doctor. Damien wonders if Nate's mother knew his father. Holden reads that his father was Nathan Hastings, but he died when he was young. Damien frowns. This whole thing is still a mystery. At Billy's place, Sally's working when he comes in with food. She asks what took him so long. He says he used his time wisely while waiting by using her pep talk. He's keen on the media venture and getting Phyllis and Daniel to join him. Sally asks if he's sure that's a good idea. Billy sees Phyllis differently than most people in town. She's more business savvy than people give her credit for, and already has great ideas about this venture. She had his back when no one else did. Sally seems to remember being there for him. Billy apologizes. She supported him and he wouldn't have gotten through that without her. But as far as the company went, Phyllis was the only one who had his back. They'll never forget what Sally did for him. Sally saw how hard he was working and admired how much he cared. Billy loves having her in his life and in his corner. They kiss. After eating, Sally tells Billy she has 2 pieces of advice for him. In the future, when he's ordering for her, he doesn't have to overdo it. Billy nods. Next, Sally also still thinks he should use moderation when bringing Phyllis into his company. She's unpredictable and volatile. Billy feels some people would say the same about him. Sally says 2 powder kegs working together could be explosive. Billy argues they could spark each other's greatness. They've both been subject to negative assumptions and demeaned. "I know where she's coming from." Sally asks if that's enough to risk the first company of his own. Billy knows what Phyllis brings to the table. She and Daniel have been through a lot, and this is a way for them to get back on track. They'll both be assets. Sally asks him to promise to be careful. Billy assures her this will work out great. At Crimson Lights, Sharon greets Phyllis, who didn't expect her to be back at work so soon. She acknowledges that she spoke to Daniel, but warns these latest developments won't let her off the hook with her. Sharon hopes he told her that Ian Ward confessed. Phyllis thinks Chance and Michael got together and made them go away. Sharon tells her that's not how the legal system works. Phyllis snips about Sharon's sob story. Sharon says she has a few of her own, and points out she knows she didn't run her off the road that night. Phyllis knows it was Jordan, but she thought Sharon wanted her dead. Sharon says it could have been her given the hazy state she was in. I really wasn't myself. My meds were being laced with PCP. That monster Cameron Kirsten kept telling her what to do. Phyllis asks if he was telling her to kill her. Sharon says he warned her she had to do something about her. I had to fight like hell to let you live and resist those voices. She refused to let them win. That's why you're sitting here right now, hating me more than ever. Phyllis wonders if she should be thankful to Sharon for resisting the urge to kill her. Sharon's trying to express her profound apologies for everything that happened. She knows she's culpable for setting Daniel up. Just because she didn't know she was being drugged didn't excuse her actions. She hopes one day they'll all be able to forgive her. Phyllis will never, ever forgive her. She tells Sharon that she promised her kids she'd stop obsessing over her burning desire to see her pay for what she did. She'll do that. Sharon thanks her for agreeing to let this go. Phyllis will never forgive her. Sharon understands. Phyllis isn't sure she does, or she wouldn't be sitting there whining. You realize you framed my son, right? What you did was way worse than just planting evidence. It was bad enough that my son had to see these bloody towels soaked in Heather's blood, but you lied to the authorities. Sharon doesn't remember. Phyllis says she told the authorities that Heather said she was afraid of Daniel. She didn't care what he was going through, she just had to cover her criminal tracks. Sharon wishes she could take it all back. Phyllis says she can't, and she's not even paying for her crimes. Nick walks in as Phyllis tells Sharon that she assumes her son has been accepting, but the shock will wear off and Daniel will feel the same way she does right now. Nick asks, "What's going on?" Phyllis says she and Sharon are clearing the air. She asks about his dad. Nick says he's already home from the hospital. Phyllis complains about Ian Ward being released. Nick recaps that he returned with the sole purpose of targeting Sharon and Mariah. Phyllis thinks this means that Heather was collateral damage and would be alive right now if not for Sharon. Nick says Summer told him she'd moved on from this. Phyllis has moved on, she was just clarifying things with Sharon. With that, she walks out. Sharon tells Nick she can't blame Phyllis for being a protective parent. She's be the same. Nick doesn't think she'd be like Phyllis. They recap that she was drugged with PCP. He's sure Daniel will come around. Sharon thinks maybe Phyllis will follow suit if that happens. She worries the ordeal has caused a lot more psychological impact than she's had time to process. She has to focus on her own recovery. At Nate's place, he reminds Amy they knew there would be obstacles. They're asking a lot of Damien, who's been blindsided by the news she tracked him down. He's sure he'll change his mind. Amy hates that she keeps being pessimistic, but she doesn't have much time to wait. Audra doesn't want to think about that, and neither should Amy, at least not right now. Amy says they can't ignore facts. Damien cut her off and created a life that didn't include her. Why would he change his mind? Nate's sure they just need to stay calm. He thinks Damien will do a background check on him. It will be easy for him to find out Amy worked for his father. Amy isn't sure why that matters. He couldn't find out she and Nathan were seeing each other. Nate says it will make him curious. He has a feeling they haven't seen the last of him. In the park, Holden has discovered that Amy worked for Nate's father before he was born. Damien knew she used to work in an office as an assistant. That has to be the connection to Nate, right? Holden nods. It's too coincidental for it not to be. At Billy's place, Sally's fortune cookie predicts she'll have great success in a new venture. Billy thinks it's impossible for her not to with her talent and style. Sally laughs that she was just reminded of the silly game where you put "in bed" on the end of the fortune. Bill predicts great success in that area too. The doorbell rings and Sally frowns as she hears Billy let Phyllis in. She asks if she's interrupting. Billy asks Phyllis how she got his new address. She says she's resourceful, that's why he hired her. She sits down and starts helping herself to the takeout while telling Billy that she and Daniel are still pondering his offer. He's going to have to give them the hard sell. Sally decides to head out, so Billy walks her to the door. Phyllis hollers, "Goodbye," while wolfing.